got a dream job, which I mug off crap hats for a living. I've got a missus which is gorgeous and massively punching. She's lovely, live in a really nice area. And I go through stages where I fucking cry myself to sleep. Fucking depression just gets to me sometimes. It's fucking horrendous. So to kick off, because guys have the attention span of a goldfish, if someone's watching this and is feeling down, what should be the immediate action? What can someone do today to either make themselves feel better or take the first step to feeling better?
I'll kick off with that one. If anybody at any time, anywhere in our army, any of our teammates, if they feel that they can't cope or they want help, then they absolutely should speak to somebody immediately. And it's someone they trust. And they should initially look at their mates, their chain of command. If they don't feel they can speak to their immediate chain of command, they need to speak to somebody somewhere. If we don't know that people are suffering and struggling, then we can't help them. And I want to make sure that all of our teammates, all of our brave men and women feel comfortable with speaking out and telling people that they need some help. So immediately speak to somebody.
Exactly the same as the Army Sergeant Major said, just speak to someone. The Army's come up with AID, which is ask, intervene, disclose. As a clinician, I often see people, once they come through that med centre door, or once someone's rung the doctor, but actually the people that matter the most are the people on the ground. Your mates, your boss, your family, your children. Just talk to someone.
On paper, going to DCMH or seeking help isn't going to affect your career, but in real terms, there's a high likelihood that it will. Or am I just making that up? I don't know how to phrase it, and obviously this is me mumbling and you're going to edit this out. But there seems to be a disconnect. What I'm aiming at, there's a disconnect between what it says in a DIN and what happens in real terms. I've had Ruperts junior officers, come to me saying that they can't go to that chain of command because they've been removed from posts and stuff. It's just, if they're reaching out, then the blokes are in absolute fucking turmoil. If they're on juniors or something, we know how the army is. Anyway, probably gonna have to scrap all that. And the question is, will it affect soldiers' careers?
Mental health, if it affects your employment standard, your medical grading, it may affect your career. But that is no different to a physical or a medical or a chronic issue. There are concerns where we have to protect the organisation, but also the soldier, the individual. So if you're conducting risk to life activity, or if you're around weapons, we do have to amend your med grade for that purpose. That's to protect you, and like I say, to get you back to work as soon as possible.
The Army's much better than where it was 20 odd years ago. When I first joined the Army, nobody spoke about it. Now people are starting to speak about it, which is good. I think to answer your question, I think we have got more to do. And we're not just talking about, physical injuries, mental injuries, conditions. They should be treated the very same way. You're either fit for Army service and to do your job, or you're unfit. And you're either temporarily unfit or you're permanently unfit. But either way, it's our responsibility as soldiers and as an army to get our people back on the road, to get them fit again and to get them ready to deploy once again. I
was saying quite a few dits about CSMs finding out, then it gets through the mess, and then all of a sudden the battalion knows one individual has an appointment. And you can imagine with these sorts of, it's not like a dental or anything else. If it gets around, it gets around. So I'm just wondering where the line is in the sand for that sort of stuff.
Hey, so I've clearly grown up as a soldier. I've been a company sergeant major. I know some of the worries that our men and women have with regards to this. I'm aware that there isn't 100% confidence in the system of reporting any form of mental health, work progress issue, and it's something I'm getting after. So we are definitely much better. We're continuing to move in the right way. But the initial policy was only written in 2014. There was a refresh in 2017. So we're continuing to get better. And I want our soldiers to be aware that I know about this, and it's something which I'm going to do more for them for.
We haven't got it right all of the time. I think people sometimes confuse Data Protection Act and GDPR, just general personal information, which is to be protected at all times. Caldicott Guardian, which is the Med in Confidence, we are actively addressing that. We have put out policy direction on sort of commanders' guides so people on the ground know what they should and shouldn't be saying. We had a military judgment panel at Army headquarters last week, so we'll look to move that forward. It's always a fear by the soldier that, you know, the chain of command will know, the soldier or the officer. I think it's their personal perception sometimes. I think the thing we need to get right is in Caldecott Guardian, if you like, which is the Med in Confidence, there's a 7th guideline. So basically those who need to know. And that historically was from a lot of civilian cases when unfortunately children died of child abuse because organisations were stovepiped. So again, it's that, right, who needs to know? Where is this risk to life activity? You know, where do we need to keep this soldier safe? But that doesn't mean they've told your chain of command what is actually wrong with you. And some of it is training and education. So we'll put the commander's guides out. We'll readdress policy. So we only had that last week, so we'll make it a lot clearer. Some of it is with absolute no malice. You know, I've seen people talk about things because the soldiers disclosed something and they think that because the soldiers told them, they can tell the whole world. And it's like, no, unless they give you consent, unless you have permission or you're worried about their safety, that conversation has happened in privacy. So it's that bit we haven't quite got right.
One question was relating to DCMH and follow-up for missed appointments. If guys miss a dental, then Valhalla and the rest of the Vikings will come after them and smash them. But guys have just missed DCMH, gone off the radar, and then no follow-up. Is that down to confidentiality or?
Mum, should I take this?
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people as a company sergeant major that would be dealing with men and women missing appointments, and dental appointments, medical appointments, as in, you know, to the MO and stuff. They come through and they come to the diary and they are scheduled in, and you get the COS in, you're like, hey, listen, get everyone dental, medical, whatever it is. And if they come back to me, let me know once they're all there, because nobody wants a did not attend, because you just get hounded by the RSM. The thing with DCMH is that's because it's medical in confidence. The company sergeant major doesn't know about that, and I think that's the right thing. So if somebody misses a DCMH appointment, then that's on them, because they're in specialist care right then. So they're outside of the battalion. They're getting some specialist treatment. If they miss that appointment, the company sergeant major will never know about it, and that is the correct thing. If then they've missed the appointment and DCMH become worried, then DCMH will reach out. They will either reach out to the individual personally, or they'll go to welfare or someone else trusted within the battalion or the unit to then get hold of the individual to make sure that they're okay. I think it's more of an understand piece. What we don't want is, like we said earlier, about people knowing about people's medical appointments, and DCMH is still reasonably sensitive. We're trying to break that stigma away. It's another path for care. The last thing you want is it going on Part 1 orders. You know, Rifleman Peyton missed his DCMH appointment, 2 extras, because then I'm getting extras. Everyone knows that I'm at DCMH and there's still that stigma attached, and I'm on guard. I mean, that's just not cool. Yeah. So that's why. So, you know, the message to soldiers is, if you're missing DCMH appointments, your company sergeant major is not going to know about it.
So I got sent a few stories relating to actual incidents that have happened, and obviously we're going to keep them broad brush. But there was an incident of a guy that unfortunately tried to commit suicide with pills over leave. On return to camp, he was told by CSM that he was attention seeking, and that if he wanted to follow through, he should have hung himself. As an individual, I don't know how I deal with that in that situation.
So there's no way that anybody in any form of position with rank that looks after individuals should be saying things like that to people. And you know, it's absolutely unacceptable. And you know, it's fortunate that this person didn't manage to take their own life. And they should then make sure that they speak to somebody who they can trust, that won't judge them, who can then give them some help. So there are parts of the Army who have not moved forward in this space as quickly as I want them to, as we need them to. But we are definitely even having this conversation here, as the senior soldier in the army, I'm kind of hoping that other people are going to look at this and be like, well, hey, if the Army Sergeant Major's talking about this, then I should be talking about this too. And we should never, ever be judging our people, because everyone's fighting a battle every single day, whether it be, drugs, drink, whatever it is, but everyone's fighting a battle. And my line of using your rank as an opportunity to do more for your people, love and lead your soldiers through their problems. That's not great to hear at all. And we will get better. And I'm going to push this forward.
There is an element of some guys not wanting to come forward, believing that they don't have issues like other guys, think that they've not been to Afghan, or they're relatively new. They've not experienced this, that and the other that some of the guys may have. So I think that the guys need to be willing to come forward, regardless. Just mumbling now, honestly.
Yeah. I know what you mean. We need to break that stigma off and allow people to come forward and talk, and to just offload. And I'll spin a quick dip now, if I can. So I remember being on Heritage 16, and it is an operational DIT, and there's, PTSD and mental health and stuff isn't always linked to operations. There's lots of other reasons why people experience trauma. But I remember Heritage 16 was a reasonably punchy tool. It was really kinetic, and I was a company sergeant major for an operations company. So I'm dealing with combat, I'm dealing with soldiers who have seen combat, I'm dealing with soldiers who are wounded in combat. So I'm seeing it all day, every day. I'm looking after soldiers, using trim and stuff, trying to make sure, to keep them all on the road. And then somebody flew in, who came into my camp, and I saw everybody who came into camp. Anyway, this colonel got off the helicopter, came over, and he said, "Oh, have you got time for a brew, Sergeant Major?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do, sir." Yeah. So I took him away, sat down. He made me a brew, and I don't know how he did that. With some of the soldiers, he just had that way about him. And he sat me down. He spoke to me for 2 hours. And afterwards, he said, "Do you know who I am?" And I was like, "I've got no clue who you are, Colonel." He was a mental health nurse, and he didn't tell me who he was or what he was until he finished. And do you know what? I still can't remember to this day what I said to him or what he said to me, but it's the way that he made me feel that I remember. So he was talking about stress, experiences, what was going on the ground, coping mechanisms, and all these sorts of bits and bobs. And actually, after 2 hours, he got up and walked away, and I was like, wow, I felt amazing. And I didn't think I needed to speak to somebody, but actually after that 2 hours, and even now, I mean, that was years ago, and even now I remember that conversation to this day. Really, really powerful. And I would encourage soldiers who maybe are not feeling themselves, are struggling a wee bit with a couple of bits, just to go and speak to somebody, because I was amazed at the pressure that was released off my shoulders. Just with that one incident. And like I say, it's not what he said that I remember, it's how he made me feel that I remember.
And some of it's cultural as well. It takes some bravery for someone to ask for help. So, if people watch something or in the unit, they think, yeah, that isn't the right reaction, look after your muckers as well, because it takes a lot of courage for someone to ask for help. So if they get knocked back, I'm worried that they won't come forward again. So it takes courage, but also it is part of that change, because, an adverse reaction is quite often someone who's scared. If someone comes up to them and says they just tried to kill themselves yesterday, it's a panic, it's a reaction. They might not have the skills to know what to do with that.
And that's why I think it's important that people, when they say, "Hey, how you doing?" they actually mean it now.
Yeah.
It's not just a passing phrase anymore. You've got to be, "Hey,
Stop
how are you?"
and wait for the answer.
Stop what you're doing. Look up from the computer. Stand and give your soldiers that time to talk to you, because that's how you'll gain their trust. And they've got to feel that they're in an environment where they can talk completely open, where they're not going to be judged, where they're in a safe space, where the information isn't going to be broadcast all over the place. And we are getting much, much better at that. There
was questions relating to mats, I think, are widely seen as a tick box exercise.
I feel that pain. So online learning.
So there is an element of OPSMART, obviously, going on. But is anything that junior NCOs could put their hand up today to go on a course. Is there anything available for guys to learn if they wanted to better themselves or better the unit? Is there anything that the guys can do as a junior NCO?
There are online courses. The Army, I think that's something as Defence and Army, we haven't got right to date, and we're really sort of leaning into that now in terms of resources and, approved training products and research. There's lots of bits everywhere, but we haven't had much coordination and much coherence. So the Army's leading with OPSMART, so that's a project that will be through career training. So literally at every promotion course, there will be a slot on health and wellbeing generally, but mental health will be fully embedded with that. I have a slight chip on my shoulder because you have health and wellbeing and mental health is seen as something separate. To me, it's not. It's all one big thing. You can't manage someone's total health and well-being, and then mental health something separate. So the defence strategy is under review, and that will be, instead of two separate strategies, that will all be incorporated. The Army is writing their health strategy. Like I say, at defence level, we're looking at all the research and putting it together. So we have lots of people that we're funding to do PhDs and MScs, but I don't think we've got really smart at fully exploiting that research. And there's a 1-star that literally started at main building last week, and been tasked for 6 months to look at everything mental health across defence, single service, and produce a report at the end of that. So that we have some coherence and some approved, accredited recommendations. But for the Army, this links into empowerment, transition, making sure we give people the skills, not only for their Army career, but for when they leave the Army, so that there'll be time in soldiers, every career promotion course, again for officers, and again on all the generals courses.
There are some things which clearly you need to tick boxes every year, NAV, PT and things like that. I don't see the welfare and health and well-being of soldiers under your command as a box ticking exercise. I don't think it's something that should be done to us. And as a warrant officer, it's not something that's done to me. I've got to go after, and I've got to look at the resources that are out there to enable me to do more for my people, the people who I work with. And I would urge every single soldier, regardless of rank, to look up the OPSMART products that are both on Defence Connect, but they're also on the British Army's website as well, the bog standard www. On the civilian side of the firewall, and all the products are there. We're all in the business of looking after our soldiers, leading our soldiers. I've always wanted our soldiers to be, fit to run, fit to fight, fit to shoot. But now I want our soldiers also to be fit to think. So it's more than just follow me. Forever I've done follow me. Send me to Brecon, thrash me. Okay, I'm now qualified to say follow me into combat. But actually what I need our soldiers to do is say, not just follow me, but hey, take a seat. What's going on? And then to use the more soft skills and the softer side to help our soldiers. And again, like I say, we're much, much better than we were 20 odd years ago. We've still got a way to go, but we're still learning, and so is the rest of the UK. The rest of the world is learning now how to help people and how to lead people using soft skills. But everybody, get onto OPSMART, have a look at the tools and use it. And it's not a tick box. It's a lifetime progression. It's a journey. It's now being done in phase 1 training. It's been done for soldiers and officers. It's in every single ALDP pathway course that our soldiers and officers do. We train our body every day. We need to train our mind every day. But I need all of our soldiers to understand what OPSMART is, what it means, and how to use it to get the very best out of their soldiers, but also out of themselves. So they've got to identify the triggers in themselves as well as others to allow them to get the best out of themselves and their people.
I've got a dream job, which I mug off crap hats for a living. I've got a missus which is gorgeous and massively punching. She's lovely, live in a really nice area. And I go through stages where I fucking cry myself to sleep. Fucking depression just gets to me sometimes. It's fucking horrendous. I can't even put my finger on it sometimes, which is even worse, because I remember when my dad died and stuff, at least you can go to sleep and think, at least I'm upset over that. Sometimes it just gets to me. Just fucking lock myself away for a couple of days and get over it. I can put 3 boots on cruise control, and it's fucking gopping. And that's why I can relate to blokes when they message me, and it's not forces related, it's nothing, it's just fucking gopping. Absolutely fucking gopping, and nothing can click me out of it. Just comes back round to being normal, I guess. Anyway, I just feel for blokes when they message me. They're messaging someone that they don't know. They're messaging someone that's just like a fucking Facebook page, marking off people not doing day sacks, and for some reason they can get it off their chest to me. And I appreciate that, because I honestly, sometimes I read individual stories. I think, what the fuck do I have to be upset about? And then I click out. Then I'm normal again for a year. I'm happy now, actually. I'm just upset now because it's just fucking ridiculous. Yeah, that's me. Done. Cheers.
How do I follow that? Yeah, for me, I knew it was coming up, and it was a bit, do I look at people that I've line managed or patients that I've cared for? Because, just by pure default, before I joined the army and whilst in the army, I've come across a lot of sick people. As a health care professional, and like I say, in the army, it is fantastic when you get people back to work. And if they can't meet the requirements of their role in the army, and we've scoped every option, it's great to see them transition on and get a job outside and have a successful life outside. There are things that are completely beyond our control, like the Army Sergeant Major said. I've seen people, they've been in RTAs and their partners have been killed outright, their child's been killed outright, and we can absolutely support them through that process. We don't get it right all of the time. I personally have worked with 3 people or lived in the mess next door to people who have completed suicide. One a nurse, one a doctor. So if anyone should have known who to ask for help, a nurse and a doctor. The other one was an individual that I worked with, quite recently, who, the first thing you do is blame yourself. Because I'm like, well, come on, I'm approachable, I'm a nurse, I just sat one down from you, why didn't you tell me? But the big thing for me is, every suicide is a tragedy, but it's making sure we learn from it, and it's making sure we don't, have multiple casualties as a result of that everybody doesn't go away blaming themselves and never ever able to move on. But we do good. I've seen people transition in really good order, and I've seen people come back to work stronger than they were before. But we need them to tell us. We need to get them early, and then we, got the greatest chance of recovering them and getting them to, excuse the pun, but everyone counts in the army, and we need everyone to be the best they can be, and that's me.
Well, the first thing they should do is they should speak to somebody that they trust, that they know won't judge them. That could be their family, it could be their chain of command, it could be somebody outside of their chain of command, it could be the medical chain, but they absolutely must go and speak to somebody and not sit and suffer in silence. There's an awful lot of help out there. It's getting better. There are helplines which are being created and being used regularly. There's never been more money spent on mental health provisions for soldiers and officers. So please, 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 if anyone is suffering in any way, shape or form, talk early to prevent crisis, because then we stand a much better chance of getting people back to where they want to be much, much quicker.
Same again. Just talk to someone. It's honest. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they said that the suicide rate within the army is the same as a generic group of blokes, regardless of where you work. Unfortunately, if someone killed themselves working at Tesco, the branch would be affected, but the individual would have a very small network that knew him. A guy that's been in 6-7 years would have been on a couple of courses, moved battalions, been on postings. It affects a much wider community. Also, we very much like a family, the blokes that you served with, or kill themselves. It's just fucking gop, and just don't fucking do it. Speak to someone. Honestly, I know life can be shit sometimes, but just talk to someone. That dog will leave eventually.
Yeah, from my perspective, we're not there yet and we are moving forward, but in my idealistic world, I would like, mental health not to be discussed as a separate issue, for it to just absolutely be in our DNA. And when you're talking to a friend or when you're commanding a soldier, you look at that soldier in the entirety, health and well-being, and mental health not being something a bit different. To know your people and know your soldier, before you even start looking at any other aspect, you've got to know what makes them tick, what gets them out of bed in the morning, what motivates them, where their levers are, where you're going to put them under stress and pressure. I hate the phrase, but that should be business as usual. It shouldn't be an add-on. It shouldn't be something different. It should be absolutely business as usual.
And I think you asked the question, what should somebody do if they're struggling? And we all gave an example of what you could do as a soldier who's struggling. But one thing I'm conscious that we've not mentioned is what you should do if you receive that from somebody else. And it's something that I think about a lot. How can I encourage our commanders, especially our junior commanders, to do the right thing, or to even know what the right thing is to do? And my plea to anybody who is approached by anybody, any of our soldiers, any of our brave men and women, and someone opens up to them, just please make sure that we don't judge these people. It's flattering for people to come, if that's the right word. It's humbling for when people come to me and say, sir, I'm struggling with this. I'm not okay, cool. So don't judge them, listen to them, be interested in what they've got to say, and then have a conversation about it. And then if you need to maintain communication with that individual, then please do that. And whatever you're doing, when they come to see you, stop and give them your time, because it's critical that we snap this stigma, that we look after our people, and we use our rank as an opportunity to do more for our people.